Good afternoon, everybody. So, actually, you were briefed about who Tallon is. Tallon is, in brief, a regulated trading company. Our main shareholder is Motor Oil, and we're also members of the European Energy Exchange. So, whatever we say is something that has all the qualifications that the market requires.
Thank you. Well done. That was good. Thank you.
This is a shipping finance conference. So, most of you look at this transaction. The transaction is you take a loan, and you will proceed in actually buying a vessel, buying a number of vessels, or going in a project, buying scrubbers. There were companies that they borrowed a few hundred of millions of dollars to invest in scrubbers, and others, they invest in vessels, right? So this equation has a cost of financing and a projected income. Most of the talks we've been listening to and the people we see the past years, they focus on the cost of financing. In this actual presentation, we're going to look on the other side. So the happiness index. Happiness, as a concept, is the hardest thing to pursue, right? But happiness has a very, very simple quantification method. It is expectations over achievements. If my expectations are to lose 10 kilos until the summer, I guarantee I'm going to be unhappy, right? But if my expectation is to lose a kilo, I'm very close to be happy. A week diet's away, right? So that moves down to the investment. How is an owner happy? When you go to the owner and say, listen, let's borrow $100 million to do this, you come with a nice piece of paper with a projected IRR. I'm going to make that much of money. I'm going to repay my scrubber in these months. And then the truth comes as the actual cost of financing, which is going to bring the realized income. And then what happens? He is unhappy. He expected a different income stream than what was projected. And this is what we say. The spotlight usually is on the minimizing the financing cost. But what about your IRR? Behind the lights, do you really control your income? We're going to argue with all these things you've been reading in the news, you don't control your income. It's impossible to control your income, at least not without doing something about it. Because all these factors, which are the past 3 months, right? Nobody talked about the coronavirus, only about Corona beer until now, right? And then carbon emissions is coming. It's a huge bill. They talked earlier in the beginning that it is $1 trillion bill until 2050. It's going to be about $50 billion per year. And what will happen? One day they will tell the vessels, maybe in 2023, maybe 2024, that you know what? You have to pay, for example, 1 million EUAs per vessel of a certain size, which is going to be a bill of today's price, 25 million per year. And 3 months before you receive this announcement, everybody will say it will never happen, like the IMO fuel. Don't worry, it's not going to be. It is coming. It is green economy. It's coming. All these bills are coming. So these are a very typical Capes dollar per day, right? Look at the shape. 30,000 a day a few months ago. 5,000, below 5,000 today. So anybody who says that any kind of IRR with projected income is solid, he's just lying to himself, right? So what can you do in such a condition? We try to reshape your income. This conference is about financing. We go to the other side. Let's look at an example which is very, very hot these past months, scrubber investments. A typical scrubber investment, somebody is going to pay 3.5 million, 4 million, 3 million, depending on the type of scrubber and the engineering behind it. And they expect to borrow money at a certain percentage rate and repay it. Now, the cost of savings of the scrubber is the actual implied income. Somebody made the calculation and said, we're going to save that much of money from the 0.5. In the beginning, it was the gas oil 0.1. And this is the money we save. For how many years and this is how I repay. This is my actually projected IRR. The blue line is the differential between the 0.5 fuel, the new fuel, and the 3.5. The higher the blue line, the better and the faster is the repayment of a scrubber. The gray line is just the price of the old 3.5 fuel that everybody used to use. We're going to zoom into what happened less than 3 months ago. Less than 3 months ago, the differential of the 0.5 fuel was at $255, $250 to $260 from the 3.5. The 3.5 at that point was below $200 per ton. Every company that had purchased a scrubber had taken the decision at much worse rates. So when somebody decided to invest in a scrubber, in their project plans, they had a number of probably 190 in the differential, which means that when the board agreed to make the investment, they were planning for a 9,000 tons per year vessel consumption to a repayment of 24 months, right? When the spread picked up at the 250, 260 area, at that point, anybody could fix a full year of repayment and bring down the projected IRR, the projected repayment of the scrubber, by 6 months, move down to 18 months. This thing would pay $500,000 per vessel of additional income versus the market today. So this very simple exercise, if somebody came to Tallon or to a company like Tallon, because this is what we were actually trying to educate the companies, is that at that certain point, anybody could just sell a swap on the differential, unlock that repayment period or IRR or higher spread rate. At that same time, anybody could also not only hedge the differential, which is the scrubber repayment, but also the actual cost of the 3.5 fuel, which was below 200. Everybody in the market knows that levels at the 150 area are the lowest levels ever observed in the market, right? So what do we say? What is our proposition? If you take a decision to make an investment, which means you're going to borrow money at a rate which you probably negotiated for 3 months, you fought with your banker over 0.25, I want 4.75, now I'm going to give you 5, right? And then you lose 10 times that because you don't control the other side, the income side. What we can definitely do, and it applies to differentials, to actual fuel prices, and to freight rates, because in 2018, when capes were at 30,000 spot numbers, you could fix a full 2 years at the 20,000 rate. At that point, people would say, why fix 20,000 for 2 years when I can actually receive 30,000 a day? Well, if your expectation is that the Cape market is going to stay at 30,000 for the next 3 years, you don't do it. But if you realize that these days are gone, that all the exogenous factors that we've seen make the markets move in huge percentages from the mean, which means that your income can go up and down more than 50%, then a very wise strategy, the same way you fix your loan and you spend months on it, is to fix your income. So by hedging, by doing these things, you take every cycle of your income and you just cut down the lower part of it. And your graph is only the upper side, because the yellow line is going to block the downside that always comes on every seasonal curve. We can put on the screen any curve of any fuel or any freight rate is going to have the exact same shape. So we want to put the spotlight on the IRR and not on the cost of financing. So if we're on stage, we would like to see, I want to maximize my IRR and not just minimize my cost of financing. So we're here to help you take control. We're going to assist you take control of your income. And because the concept of this conference is to ReFuture shipping, we as a small company, of course, we cannot ReFuture shipping, but we can definitely assist you ReFuture your income stream. So thank you very much.